Good evening and welcome to the latest round of Super League action. Fifey with you, as is the case every Sunday. And tonight I am joined by former Super League champion and arguably the greatest of all the shithouses ever to grace the beautiful game. I am joined by Mr. Greaves. How are you, pal?
I'm all right, buddy. Thank you for the kind introduction. And it's the shithouse, not the greatest of. It's the shithouse.
The shithouse.
The shithouse. The others pale in comparison.
And it's a pleasure for me to have you on because obviously you're normally one who is up very early in the morning, so we don't always get your dulcet tones on, or definitely not as much as we'd like. But you're off on holiday next week, so it was perfect timing for you to join me this evening.
Yeah, off to Bootlings in the morning, and thought I'd take advantage of it and hop on and have a fun-filled Super League night with everyone enjoying my little country voice.
For anyone who missed the news, there's no Dudley Hill action tonight because of this Devils game that you can see on the screen, which we're hoping to start with, where Hodgie's reserves are going to go out and try and win a game. There will be a special show. Ryan's going to do a special one-off, which will just be Devils versus Dudley for some extra content in the middle of the week, I imagine. Before we get started then, Greavesy, just a question for you, if I can, and I'll bring up the table and the fixtures and stuff for anyone who missed it during that sort of 5-minute intro. Obviously, as I said in the beginning, you're a defending champion. We've had a fairly big turnover over the last season of managers joining, and I know everyone that has joined has obviously watched the Super League for a while and been big contributors to what is a growing reputation competition. But what does it take? If you were to give one piece of advice, what does it take to become a Super League champion?
Defensive solidarity. Can't win if you keep conceding goals.
Very true.
I think a lot of people have realised over the past few seasons it's more important to win a game 1-0 than to lose 4-2.
Yep.
You don't win nothing for letting goals go in. And I think if you look at a lot of the way that teams have developed, especially in past iterations, they're less gung ho now, and it's more chess-like in the approach. And when people try and do get too gung ho, they soon get slapped back down.
Absolutely. And as we are at the halfway stage, you're currently sitting 6th. How we said off air, you're obviously one of the more confident managers, generally speaking. But as you look at the table, are you about where you'd want to be at this stage?
No, I'd want to be where Northern Burn are, personally. If that was me, I'd always want to be top. Points in the bag, 9 points off the playoff spot, off dropping out the playoffs, ideal position to be. I am a lot further down the table is what I would like to be. I don't want to be below that dotted line at any point throughout the season. And a lot of managers say that they aim for the playoffs. I don't want that. I want to get as high up the table as possible. You've got to be in it to win it, and to win it, you've got to be as high as you can.
It's very, very true. Let's get started, and hopefully it'll tick straight over into that Devils game so that we can just speed through. Where are we? Yeah, let's get that one out the way first. It's a reserve team picked with his usual formation. We don't really need to go into it too much. I imagine you're expecting a nice comfortable win for the home side here.
Yeah, it's a shithouse formation against the AI, and it should be a small team.
Any of the what I'll do while that's playing, obviously these are not players, with the exception of one, because there's a lack of defenders in the Devils team. Is there any of these players you think could be first team regulars?
Not with the players that Hodgie's got already. Giuliano is a good defender, but with his random with certain random stats that he has, I think in this iteration, he's not good enough with the 9 determination. It's nice to see the Romford Pele getting on the score sheet and pulling out a 10 so far, but he's playing a load of farmers, isn't he?
Ryan pointing out that he needs to lose, so I've taken the keeper out and they've scored a second goal.
What's the league table?
Let's try and stop this now and just go.
If you put it on direct passing as well.
Will this team of absolute nobodies get enough goals in the last 20 minutes?
No.
No. There's 2. I mean, you can't do much more than have nobody in defensive positions.
If you put the men behind the ball, behind the ball, do everything that doesn't.
Oh my God. Well, it's good for form, if nothing else, for Hodgie's team. It didn't quite go to Ryan's plan of losing. We tried to lose. They just weren't very good.
Romford Pele. When you got the Romford Pele marching about midfield, what else can happen?
Right, let's move on to the serious action. Shall we? I mean, is there a particular game you would like to start with when you look at that list?
I don't mind. I'm happy to see how they come.
Go as they come?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are starting with Fulchester away at Gazelles then. Maka has gone almost same as. The only change is Ronaldo's come in for Comandini and he's put a backward arrow on him. I know you mentioned in the intro about defensive stability and Nicky Butt is a player you've spoken extensively about.
Yeah, Nicky Butt will tackle his own nan if she had the ball. He is the animal of the Super League. If anyone actually had the fortune of teaming up Ndai and Butt, you wouldn't have to play anyone in defence. I dread, but would they out-tackle would they try and get competitive and out-tackle each other? But I think them two together would be just a wall. I do really like Macca's side at the moment. Mm-hmm. The backwards arrow on Ronaldo is interesting. It might see if he's trying to force him into getting at the game a bit more, because if he's not the focal point, he can drift off. But Shearer's been in good form and Owen has been getting lots of assists for him this year. So it's a very solid lineup.
And the interesting one for me with this Fulchester team, especially if we compare it to yours, for example, Barthez gets praise after praise after praise. Buffon, statistically, one of the better keepers. Yeah, he's one that seems, especially in the Super League, to always throw in a 5 at some point, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm very drawn on Barthez if he is one of the top or not. His stats say that he is, but I do think other players can outperform him. If you look at that, that's everything you'd want. Near enough 20 is what you'd want for a goalkeeper.
But is conceding 24 in 14.
Yeah, and Maka is generally very good on his defensive tactics. So I can't see him changing too much from what he has in previous seasons. And a lot of it is that I think Barthez tries to do a bit too fancy and ends up slipping up.
Well, let's move on to the Gazelles then. Just the one change for them as well, from memory, with Zaylaeus coming back into defensive midfield. And we were clicking through some of the stats at the beginning, and they're definitely one of the form teams in the league at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, he's kicking into gear. He's getting a footing into the league now and starting to realise what it's all about. It's a very solid side. I like his centre halves. I like his wall of 4. I've never been a fan of Welland's sideways passes. He might only misplace 4 passes a match, but he's passing fucking nowhere. Gerrard is good. He's managed to keep Gerrard fit, but I think personally Gerrard is better as a DMC in this game rather than an MC. Raul is good. I'm a big fan of Raul, and I'm not too keen on Guilherme. But other than
Well,
that,
he was actually, that's where I was going to go next, because he doesn't really have much in the way of Super League pedigree from his previous appearances, if you like. But all of a sudden, he's picked up a couple of goals in the last few games.
yeah, just see how it pans over the season. I'm more than willing to eat humble pie. If he gets up to 10 goals, I'll be impressed.
Okay, let's head to kickoff then and see who will be first to put a prediction in the chat. While we wait for that, can I ask for yours, please, sir? First one of the night.
I'm going to be outlandish, and
Go
I'm
on.
going to say Fulchester are going to win 1-0.
Fulchester 1-0. Excellent. Well, I can see both of them are kind of, they would be happy to accept a draw right now. They're suggesting in the chat. Let's kick off and see what happens. Plenty of blue and white in the very early minutes. Ryan was first in with a 0-0. In fact, the first 3 predictions coming in are for draws, as Megahorse went 1-1 and Ian Edwards 2-2. Seeing Veron's name, Owen's name, Becca's name, so the right names for Fulchester are getting involved. There's a yellow card there, and past his own goalkeeper, Cafu gives the away side the lead. And
he's getting on a bit now. He's getting a bit senile. Don't know what way to shoot.
I mean, we were praising Gazelles in the build-up. That's not what Duggan would want to see, is it?
Yeah, but he's been caught offside 9 times. So the shots on target, he could have actually had 9 shots on target and been unlucky. Or even if you say the same amount of offsides as Maka, he could have had 5 shots on target,
yep,
or 5 shots off target. So I think it's a bit. I always like to have a look to see what although he's had no shots on target, statistically, I do think he's in this game.
Definitely. When you look at the individual player ratings, the goalkeeper is putting in a decent performance. Other than that, it's been fairly average for Duggan's team. But as you say, the players that he has in there at 1-0 down, and that goal was an own goal. It's not like they've been completely dominated. They're still very much in it, and I can see he is making changes at halftime.
His pass retention has been good as well, so I wouldn't be too worried.
Forlan for Raul, Medina for Cafu, and Gerrard to right wing back. What do you think to those changes?
Overly cautious. Just because they've got yellow cards don't mean they're going to get another one.
Let's have a look at the away side. Again, it's slightly better, isn't it? That there's a bit more passing going on. There's a slightly higher ratings, but it's still not vintage Fulchester by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, Fulchester have been a completely different beast this year. They've been nicking games. They've been conceding a lot more than what they usually do. But if you look, Big Bobo's doing well, and Nicky Butt's still getting his tackles in. Veron is unusually on a 6, but with him in the side, anything can happen at any time.
And Mr. Reliable, Chris Sutton, possibly the best £500,000 signing in the history of the Super League, is coming on for Michael Owen at halftime.
Yeah, he's just there to talk shit next to the defenders, and he can put them off.
Do you see it changing much? I know you predicted 1-0 Fulchester, but based on the subs and stuff, do you see this changing?
No, I can't. I can see Fulchester finishing this off, especially with the subs that Gazelles have put on.
Okay, let's see how we go. Seeing text for both sides, and Gazelles now starting to have a bit more influence on the game. But Fulchester make it 2, and it's Ronaldo just before the hour. And a load of yellow cards being dished out there as well. And another one for Ferdinand that time. A lot of cards in that sort of 10-15 minute spell there.
He set him up as dirty bastards, and he just to give him a kick.
And another yellow card. And Zayaleas, who is only just back in the team, has been sent off. Look how many yellow cards Gazelles have had.
And I would never set my team up to play like that. It's absolutely disgraceful. Duggan, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm not a person who had 2 people sent off in a game and has 7 yellow cards. No, that wasn't me. You can.
He's just saying to move Smirt in central and crack
Yeah,
on.
he's got nothing to lose, has he? At this stage, if he gets a goal back, he could, but he's
Well,
not gonna.
let's just slow it down for the last 7 minutes. We'd normally do it a bit earlier, but oh no,
Oh,
let's
here
not
he
bother.
is, Big
Let's speed it
Al.
up again. Let's put him out of his misery as it's 3-0 to the away side. And
Oh,
another
Macca's
yellow card dished out. So, I mean, before we click on the stats, Fulchester had 1 yellow card, so all of those yellow cards
They were
have
too
gone
busy on
to
the floor, weren't they?
Gazelles. Unbelievable, really. And they still didn't manage a shot on goal.
Diego Forlan did nothing but come on and kick people.
Dimble saying more cards than
offside.
Greavesy got on his birthday.
That's ridiculous. 18 offsides. None.
I mean, ultimately, the score was very much against Gazelles. The stats don't read great. I know you pointed out the amount of offsides, the sheer volume of yellow cards. Is there any positives to take for Duggan there?
No, I think Macca's been, well, it's obvious that Duggan buys the beer for Gazelles from Aldi. And they are upset with the Fulchester's manager's comments about the inferior brew. That's all that can be said. They've come in with an agenda before the game has come on. The Brazilian hatchet man has done what he's known for. And yeah, I'm just surprised Richie Wellens didn't headbutt someone.
We have a quick look at the away side, as we said, just the 1 yellow. Ronaldo came in, got man of the match, a couple of 9s in there, 3 9s in fact, a couple of 8s as well. Perfect away performance, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can't hope for much more really than 3 goals away from home and a clean sheet. It's a good performance. Nicky Butt doing what he likes to do. Ronaldo had very good passes as well as getting a goal. And Big Al managed to get his head on something by the looks of it.
And I just had a quick look at referee watch as I could see everyone saying that it was carnage and the referee's taking a bung and everything there. It's not exactly a referee that's stolen the headlines in the past either. So it's just
it's not my mate Wayne Dade, is it? So
no, Gazelle's just completely lost the plot. So unfortunate for Duggan, but congratulations, Macca, and perhaps people will be taking Fulchester a little bit more seriously now.
Yeah, well, they look to be knocking on the door now, especially where they were sitting beforehand. So
we now go Northern Burn versus Astor then. Vincente's coming on loan. That's something I wanted to ask you, actually. I meant to ask in the intro. We brought the loan window in. Do you think when you see some of the deals teams have done, it's a worthwhile exercise?
I was sceptical on it at the start, but then managing to bring a player in who I quite like on loan, and he is helping my side because I'm lacking in certain areas due to injuries and suspensions.
Yep.
I can see it being a good benefit to the league. It's a player that everyone's getting players who are basically do benefit their squads that won't be getting game times at other places. So it's good for the players, and it's good for it's nice to see opposite managers helping each other out on that aspect.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Instead of hoarding players and going, nope. You will still get that, but there is plenty of managers out there who will still loan players.
Well, let's talk Astor. Obviously, on that note, Vincente came in. ZZ Roberts racing up the goal scoring charts. He's in the top 3 or 4.
He's a binman that can take penalties.
And also, big news for Astor today is that the suspended duo of Foey and Scally are back.
Yeah, it's a very solid lineup. Scally and Foey love tackling people. Hoffland and Heppier are a very underrated centre-half partnership. Soren and Salihamidzic are good wing-backs. He gets a lot of, with the asymmetric, with Vincente on that side, I can see it doing damage.
Mm-hmm.
Rayad's done well, and Yavsav got man of the match in the last game. And just they've got to hope they keep getting penalties so that Binman keeps scoring.
Well, without wishing to jinx it for him, when Mr. Mourinho submitted this team, he said this is probably the best 11 he's been able to put out.
I would actually say Macera could be better than Vincente, but that's just personal preference. And he's not been blessed with players in his squad, but I do think he has a very good squad in that he's got players in the squad that could do damage to other teams. So,
We go to Northern Burn then, top of the league, playing quite well throughout the first half of the season, obviously being top of the league. Although there was it last game out? No, they beat Haggis last time out. There was the draw and the defeat there, so not questions being asked as such, but they did hit a little rocky patch by their own high standards, and they've adopted a different tactic for this game.
yeah, it was interesting to see that he's dropped Georgiatos to play Gardner in that role.
Rightfully delighted.
The both Gardner and Marcin are both playing out of position, and
I think his starting points, he's looking at where the arrows end up.
Yeah, but even in finishing points, Marcin's still out of position. So if he's brought in as a fullback, I would have stayed in the same tactic because it worked well for the pineapple in the past.
I was going to say it's very Valen-esque. This isn't
it? But when Valen had it, they had Cafu and Lizarazu, and they're just monsters. So unless you're playing people who can naturally play there, I'm not a big fan of the monster players that just dominate.
Okay. Well, it's a very interesting observation you make there. Now you've seen both teams. Now Ian doesn't like 13, does he? So let's give Gardner 24. What is your prediction for this one, please, sir?
I can see Asta picking up a 1-0 win. I think Burn have been quite lucky on the road, lucky recently, and the pineapple with two players out of position could be a detriment, especially one of them is a lazy player.
Okay, so Asta possibly nicking a 1-0 away win. Let's kick off, and the first 17 minutes go by without anything. Tato's gone 2-0 to Asta. This is prediction. He normally predicts himself to lose from memory. Already seeing a yellow card or two, so we might have another entertaining game on our hands. But the first half hour has gone by quite quickly. Burn now starting to impose themselves on the game. There's another yellow card for the returning Mark Vivian Foe. Seeing Totti, and it is 1-0, and it is Sigalko, and it's basically what everyone has now come to expect from Burn, isn't it?
Yeah, they're becoming more of a one-man team than Spartak, unfortunately.
More of a one-man team than Spartak. I would say Sigalko's definitely got the reputation that Mpenza's had at Devils.
Yeah, the bit is Mpenza, he'll get a flurry and then
he'll dry up.
But it's scary. But the consistency that Tasalko's getting him at the moment is worrying because it's like in a home save where in previous iterations it hasn't been with Maxim. So
do you think, just as you see these halftime stats on the screen, is that reflective of the text commentary that you were seeing?
Yeah, I think Northern Burn are in full control, unfortunately. It'd be nice to see Asta get back into it, but I don't think they will. Home sides generally kick into gear in the second half.
Well, the two players you sort of picked out beforehand, Gardner is the one on the 6, and whereas his teammate on the other side is on an 8. So it's clearly working for one of them at the moment.
Yes, the more determined players doing well compared to. I'm never a fan of players with low determination.
Roy Keane not doing much by the way of passing, but doing what you'd expect tackling wise.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you just want him to tackle someone and pass the ball to someone else, don't you? That's all you want to know. Any DMs.
Ian has already gone as is, so we'll click over and have a look at Asta for Mr. Mourinho to see if he wants to make any changes. A couple of yellow cards. We've got a 5 there as well for Hippier, so it's not going great.
Yeah, he just hasn't got the ball in the air, has he?
No.
He hasn't won any headers or even attempted any, so that's why the 5 is, because he's only missed one tackle and he's only misplaced few passes. So
no, absolutely.
I wouldn't be concerned.
One of the things I have noticed in their upturn in form seems to have coincided with the addition of the new goalkeeper.
Yeah, he's one of my favourites, David Day. He's a very good keeper.
And I can see there's a double change coming for the away side. So Hippier off for Dashuk and Saviola for Catania. What do you make to those two changes?
Yes, I can understand the Hoopier, but I'm never a fan of taking a player off on a 6.
Okay.
I can understand taking a player off if they're on a 5, but a 6 can easily turn into a 9.5.
I can see Rob Sloth's come straight in with Catania is bobbins. So we'll kick off. Can you see us again now that you've seen the subs? Can you see us getting back into this?
I'd like to see them get back in, but I fear that the home side will carry on in the second half.
Okay. Well, it's flying by without much happening there. Although Henri has just hit the bar, and the minutes are just ticking away from Astor with very little happening in this game whatsoever. We've got to have 3 minutes of injury time. I saw ZZ Roberts, and he's got the ball again. Will we have late drama? Oh, and the debutant. Here come Astor again. Toldo keeps the lead for Bern, and it's all done and dusted. Astor with a little flurry at the end, but not enough to trouble such a talented Bern side.
1-0 to the Bern.
1-0 to the Bern.
Getting the chant.
It was professional, really, from Bern, wasn't it? There was nothing spectacular about it. It was a thoroughly professional job.
Yeah, his routine performance with Northern Bern, keeping tight at the back, and Maxine doing the business. Totti's played very well for Ian, as he's just been left to play with no burden put on his shoulders to win the games for him.
Yeah.
Then he's getting the best out of him that way, not having any pressure. So he's picked up man of the match again.
Well, I mean, we're looking at Totti here, and is this the best anyone's got out of him for at least for the last few seasons?
Yeah, last few seasons, yes, but he's been shipped about so many times and played in different positions and utilised different ways.
Yeah.
You're going to struggle to get the best out of any player if they're played right wing one week, AMC the next, centre mid the next, up front. They're not going to know where they're coming and going. And if they do get a good game, they're probably not going to play in that position again for another fortnight. So it's nice to see him get a run of games in the same place.
And we have a look that the subs had some but limited impact. ZZ Roberts only getting a 6 rating isn't ideal.
We didn't have a penalty to take, did
he? But again, looking at positives, Bern will put a lot of teams to the sword this season with the quality they have. So the fact that Astor stayed in it right to the end.
Yeah, there's lots of positives to take from that. If you look at his back line, really, Samahamovic and Sorin played well. Hofland had a good game. Bashuk played well when he came on. It would have been interesting to see if he does mix it up and give Bashuk and Hofland a run together.
Yep.
After Hoopier's dropped a bollock in this game. Scally's been disappointing for his stat. If you could win a prize for tackles attempted in the season, Scally would win it. But overall, his completion numbers have been quite poor.
And I am enjoying the little bit of banter in the chat where Rob has said, congratulations to Galco United, and Ian has replied, thanks, Zé Roberto Town. Let's move on to the next game. Congratulations, Ian. Commiserations, Tato. And we go to Churchtown versus Ledesford. Ledesford, who last time out beat Dudley Hill 2-1. Debutant on loan Julius Agahawa with a 10 rating and 2 goals. He's gone, from memory, he's gone unchanged.
Yeah, it's a very people are saying it's a very workhorse side, but Petkov is a very good left midfielder. Ex-Maria is one of the best right wingers you can get. Vogel is an animal, and Patsatsoglu and Paredes. P&P have done well in the DM positions.
And we were mentioning Totti in the last game. Ronaldinho, another one who is playing well above what he has done previously?
He's a monster. I'm a big fan of Ronaldinho. A lot of people are hesitant to play him as a striker, but he's a boss. He's, as you saw, he's got 6 goals, and I think was it 6 goals and 5 assists in 14 games.
Yeah.
What more can you want? Other than scoring 14 and 14, you can't get much. What he's got 11 goal contributions in 14 games. There's not many players in the league will do that.
Now,
Ronaldinho is one of them.
A question for you, and I'm not personally suggesting I would rate it this highly, but let me ask, just seeing Ian's comment there in the chat, such balance to the team. You see the likes of Burn and Devils being spoken about as having elite squads. When you see this 11 on paper like this, where would you rate it as a Super League 11?
It is a very good. I see a lot of similarities with my loco side to the Leicester side.
Okay.
Obviously faced each other in my first final, but there's not a lot of superstar. He's got the odd superstar player and a lot of good players around them, and it doesn't take. 11 superstars doesn't win a game.
Correct.
It takes a team.
Yep.
And you've got a lot of team players. Paredes and Pazazoglu are very good hard work and DMs. Kivu and Ekioga are a very underrated centre-half partnership. Tayibi is a very reliable goalkeeper.
Yep.
I dare say, over a season, if you simulated 2 seasons, one season you had Buffon in goal, and the only difference was the next season you had Tayibi, I dare say Tayibi would concede less.
Okay.
He's one of those, his stats aren't amazing, but they're just good enough so he doesn't concede a lot.
Well, I mean, we looked at Buffon earlier, and you see there, Tayibi's only conceded 13 in 14 games.
Yeah, but his stats in the right places. It's keepers, I think, if you get a lot of 20s, they get too good and they don't. It's like I'm not a big fan of Sebastian Frey. I think he's a liability.
You've done public record of that before.
There's a lot of goalkeepers that are classed as very good, but I feel they don't perform.
Churchtown have brought Rossini on loan, and he goes straight into the team.
Yeah, I can understand why he does it, but everyone also knows my opinion on Rossini.
Del Piero in a centre midfield position.
Yeah, I've played him there in the past. He's got the quality. He's not with the arrow on. He's basically a playmaker in that midfield to run forward. You don't want him putting the boot in, getting lots of tackles. He's there to put the ball deep and penetrate.
And we did see in the previous game Totti next to Keane. This is very similar in Del Piero next to Cambiasso. You've got one that's just there to tackle, basically.
Yeah, well, I can see Cambiasso there more as a distribution role. With Kaladza and Mills there doing the dirty work for Del Piero. And I think that's a very underrated side for Churchtown.
And the shape to kind of match up to what was expected from Leadersford?
Well, it's been working. There's a shape that's been working this season, and I believe that Donny is best on the left-hand side. Is his best position, and Zanetti is a monster on that right-hand side. So I could actually see Churchtown picking up a win today and shocking the system.
I was about to ask what was your score prediction for this one?
Yeah, he's got the 2 running through. I can't see Leadersford dominating the midfield like they normally do. I can see a Churchtown 2-1 win.
Churchtown 2-1 win. Ian Edwards was first in with a Leadersford 2-1 win. So let's see who gets it right as we get some early yellow cards again. It seems to be very Leadersford dominated that first 20 minutes. But as I say that, Churchtown begin to come forward. And another yellow card, this time for Vogel, I believe that one was. As we already reach half time, will there be a goal before the whistle? No. It flew by. There wasn't a lot really to write home about that first half, was there?
No, you got 2 sides cancelling each other out in the great game of champ and chess.
I can see Scott is cheering on his on loan striker. Let's have a look at the home side first then. We mentioned the midfield partnership of Del Piero and Cambiasso. They're both rating 7s. Del Piero, as you suggested, he's the one doing the passing. Cambiasso there. He's had to make a couple of tackles. So pretty much what we were expecting from the two of them in the middle there.
Yeah, they've been going well. It's the battles on the flanks that have been most important between Donny and Experia and Zanetti and Petkov. And I believe that'll be the difference. If Zanetti and Donny manage to put a shift in and raise their numbers up.
Well, you can see there that Petkov and Experia are both rating 7, so they are slightly ahead in that battle out wide.
Yeah.
Would you be concerned with the 3 yellow cards at half time? I know you were saying earlier you wouldn't be changing players just because they got yellow cards, but given what we saw particularly in the first game.
Well, he only had a player that sent off and he didn't have a yellow card in the first half, did he?
That's right.
The player who was sent off got 2 yellows in the second. So the yellow card players can get sent off from anywhere at any point. So
of course they can.
I try and ignore those. I get more worried about what suspensions they'll get on in the future with
Yeah.
the yellow card compared to what they'll get in the game.
You mentioned the centre-back partnership before kick-off, and Ekiog again continues to... He seems to be one of those very dependable players who never really gets spoken about in the highest terms.
Well, he's a big monster, isn't he? And at the end of the day, you don't get spoken about in the highest terms because if you've got money, you don't buy Hugo. He's overlooked just by the sheer fact he's not a fashionable player. He's got enough stats in him to be a very good player and to be up there and a high performer. But if you're a bigger side, you don't really look for him because your eyes are on a higher prize.
Yeah.
And if you're a lower side,
you can't
he's generally too old by the time you get him.
Yeah. One change at half time, and Mr. Megahorse is about 15 years ahead of himself by seemingly playing false nines. Hersey coming on for Torres, moving Agahawa up front.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Agahawa up front, so that means he's going to score.
Absolutely. Can we expect a more entertaining second half?
We can hope so. But also the shithouse in me hopes it is 0-0.
You love a good 0-0.
You got to love a 0-0. Points on the board. That's all that matters.
Leddersford certainly started strong, but again, Churchtown, and it is 1-0. And Tim with his first goal for the home side. As we slow it down. Timmy. We're into the final 10 minutes. Churchtown still have the lead. Leddersford not really doing enough.
Making himself known since he's come back into the side, hasn't he?
Sorry, what was that?
Big Eyes at Gogoronko has let himself. Yeah. People remember who he is since he's been on the fringes this season.
Well, he's had issues, hasn't he? He's been unhappy basically since the start of the season, and but Dimble's just said, "Fuck it, I don't care if you're unhappy. You're probably my best defender."
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? I don't ever think a player will get happy sitting on the bench.
Well, this is it. And it's a yellow card for Ekiog as we go into injury time. And that, dare I say, could be a season-defining win for Churchtown.
Yeah, especially because Leddersford got a result against Dudley, didn't they, the last round? So yeah. The Trojan horse is actually being penetrated recently. So,
well, is that 2 defeats in 3 now after not losing in his first seemingly like 11 games?
Yeah, people are getting used to the formation. It can happen.
Let's have a look at the home side then. Very good ratings throughout, other than Donny, who got 6, but Christian Tim getting man of the match for his goal. Again, looking at the sort of players we picked out, Rossini had a fair debut without excelling. Del Piero certainly doing bits in that sort of playmaker role that you highlighted.
Yeah, it's nice to see. Well, I'm a bit confused why Del Piero is trying 11 headers. Especially when he's got Mild and Kaladza behind him. You just step forward a little bit and let them get the header. But other than that, it's a nice, efficient performance, really, from Churchtown.
And when we look I mean, these aren't numbers we've come to associate with Leddersford. The centre backs did well. And Etsabaria was relatively effective out wide, but other than that, this is not a typical Leddersford performance. As you say, are people now familiar with the setup? And
I just want to know when Okoronkwo is going to take Ronaldinho out of his pocket. He's been in there all game by the looks of it. And yeah, it's very unusual for the top player in the league to be doing that, isn't it?
No, absolutely. Well, congratulations, Dimble. Commiserations, Dan. I'm sure you're not going to panic the same as Dimble isn't going to get carried away. As we move on to what they're billing as a derby game between Haggis and Bostock. Viduka.
They're not a derby.
Exactly, yes. Viduka's come in on loan. Live is suspended, which means Silvestri has come in to the defence, and he's gone free up top.
Yeah, well, he played free up top last game, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so Biggin coming in to replace Heskey is a good positive change, really. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Gonzalez does in the centre.
And it's also worth noting
Galavan coming in, he's got amazing snap.
I felt for Scott here because he signed Gavilan, and then the first day of training he got injured for about a month. I think it was 6 weeks he was injured for after his first day.
Yeah, his stats look. I've never seen Galavan's stats look like that before. And you're talking to someone who's managed Newcastle for about 20 years. So, yeah, it's a very, very solid lineup. I've played the three up top with the 1MC quite a lot before. Sometimes you get good results from it. Sometimes your MC can get a bit isolated. It'll be interesting to see how it performs against a very good Haggis side.
Well, let's see what the Haggis side have put together, and it is a slight tweak. Helguera's moved back into a free, but with a forward arrow. Vieira has now a sideways arrow.
And words can't describe how disappointed I am in this lineup.
I mean, I have the luxury of also seeing your facial reactions.
It's like when you play the AI and they drop a bollock. When you click on and you see 87 arrows going in all different directions. Even Helguera has been his best player at DM. Why change it? And to play without a DM is very brave. Free at the back generally doesn't work. Having on an arrow running on a centre half is going to do fuck all. Stam and Neville are very good centre halves. Neville had a good game in the last one. You change your arrows and you get rid of the runs. Yeah, it would be a very, very good lineup. But I don't understand why you dropped his best player back. He just he's gone very well played for the past 10 games, mate. Fuck off back to defence.
Yeah, it is an interesting move, and the guys have picked out quite clearly. So I've done the old right click to get rid of them. There seem to be some thick arrows on the free centre backs, so I'm not sure why that is, because it definitely appears to be.
Did he get his tactic off Wooder?
I don't, but possibly.
Have you downloaded it off Wooder?
I mean, Ryan's saying reload it just to be sure. What was this one called again? Haggis, the Derby. Yeah, it's definitely the tactic file. So we'll just right click them and take them off.
Dirty bastard. Play without a keeper. Stick his keeper up front.
Anyway, I think that's taking care of it. Hopefully, I can't see any more. No, everyone else seems to be standard.
Yeah, Bostock 5-0. I was on comms last time as Whip Wop and Bastard, and I wish death on them as well. This is poor. Boo. The amount of piss and vinegar he kicked off about Whip Wop and Wooder, and he's now done it himself. Shame on you. Shame.
Well, so I presume you're now firmly backing the away side.
Yeah, Bostock 7-0.
I
Fuck
mean,
the Wig Bobbers.
7-0. Let's kick off then and see how everyone is now slating him in the comments as well.
He deserved
Where
it.
he seems genuinely unaware what's
Stop
going
downloading your
on.
tactics then. Just because your J button's got semen stuck in it and you can't use your keypad doesn't give you an excuse to download tactics.
Anelka did put the ball in the net, but it's been disallowed. And
Never with Wob before in your life. What's that tactic file there?
I'm just hoping we
Dirty
get
bastard.
through this game relatively incident-free. I'd be quite happy for it to just
nearly putting me off my beer. It's just, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot.
We've got to half-time, and well, it's about as entertaining as the last game, isn't it?
Well, words can't describe how disgusted I actually am.
Let's have a look at the away side first. When picking it out, there's, to be fair, the attacking-minded players, you look at Anelka, Tristan Gonzalez, they are passing, but they're just not shooting. Viduka's the only one that's had any shots, so he's trying to get involved on his debut.
Yeah, he's trying to get in amongst it. He's trying to earn a move, isn't he? Which you can't blame him. Steve's left him out in the cold for so long. He's just happy to see a bit of warmth.
And while we wait to see if Scott wants to make any changes, let's see how the home side are forming. And basically, Casillas is having one of his better games.
Yes, the once in a blue moon has turned up.
I mean, it's not been an awful performance by them by any stretch of the imagination.
It's more than they deserve.
I can see Scott is doing Tres for Tristan.
Yeah, interesting to see how Trezeguet will get on in the fray.
And just wait to see if Ian wants to make any changes. He's saying just roll with it. So we will kick off the second half and see what happens, see if the substitute can have an impact for the away side. And it's certainly Bostock looking to take an advantage. Wow. That sort of 20 minutes flew by. And it's a penalty to Bostock.
Oh, yes.
Anelka. And he scores. And the crowd go wild. They're screaming justice has been done. Greavesy is applauding on the video as well. As we head into injury time, will Haggis get an equaliser?
I hope not.
And it's a corner to the away side. Will they get a second even in injury time? Last chance possibly, and it's Viduka. And Casillas with a fine save. And they tried to counter Haggis, but it wasn't to be. And everyone other than Ian is delighted that Anelka's 85th minute penalty is enough for the win.
It does prove that good guys can win. Evil doesn't always succeed.
I can see everyone's. So we got Ryan saying Anelka, Dimble saying limbs, Duggan saying not quite the 17-1 result that he had in testing. And now we're getting people saying justice. Let's have a look at the away side. Congratulations to Scott. Anelka's goal, as we said, proving enough. There's not many of the higher range ratings. It was just a solid team performance.
Yeah, it was a very dogged performance. You can obviously tell that the players were affected from the shithousery before they even left the pitch. Basically, they found out secondhand on the way that Ian is a cheating bastard, and it sort of put them off. And they've sort of been a bit dejected by the look of that. They put a good performance in for Scott, but I feel that they're just wholly disappointed through the whole experience.
And then for the home side, Casillas getting man of the match for the string of saves he pulled off. Again, they're not bad ratings, but it was just a bad day at the office, really.
You can't say anything positive, really.
Ian's trying to suggest that someone else has done it to the tactic, given that the only two people that have had access to the tactic are him who sent it and me who put it on the game. And that I reloaded it live in front of everybody.
Is he implying that the chairman wibwobs his formation?
Am I trying to myself wibwob his team to the title? Is that what's being suggested, even though I've loaded it up in front of everybody?
Well, you got to say, the past few years he's been playing, he needs to fucking wibwob to actually get a win, doesn't he? So, but it leaves a sour taste.
So we're not going to Loco Halls because you're here. So let's go to Dragons, who travel away to Sloths. And Jamie, after winning 3-1 last time out against Churchtown, has gone unchanged.
Yeah, as you know, I'm not a fan of one at the back. It goes up against
Especially, there's one thing doing it at home, it's a different thing entirely doing it away, isn't it?
Very dangerous away, especially when you know that you've got one man marking Big Shagger. And Big Shagger's got a shag, hasn't he?
However, on saying that, if you are to play one at the back, Lucio's not a bad one to have. And when you look at the units in front of him as well.
Yeah, but Lucio's got to win literally, he's got to hope Zari stops the cross from Z Roberto. And you've got to hope that Lucio wins the header because Chiates ain't going to do fuck all, is he?
So you're not looking or sounding entirely convinced by Jamie's decision here. Let's see what he is up against. And there's a couple of changes. Ebe Sand is the one that stands out as coming back in. Pisotto was the other one coming in at right wing back.
Yeah, he's got his best wing backs. I'd say that's his best his best line of four.
Mm-hmm.
Mantaras, although he got a goal, he's wasted at AMC. Just play two centre halves and Ruby Costa and D'Alessandro behind Sand or bloody Shagger. What's got to be the issue? Why you got to fuck about put that player in his wrong place?
Tato suggesting that this is bold against the Sloths, but maybe Campbell could lend Jamie a couple of Wibwob defenders to help Lucio out. And Ian suggesting that this setup has to get pumped at some point. Let's head to kickoff. You expect one at the back away from home? Are you expecting Sloths to dominate this one?
Yeah, basically it'll be a big congestion in that centre, and they've got to stop a Sparta. There's a Roberto cross, haven't they? So
Rob's also directing comments directly to you. Above you in the league, Greaves, so shut it.
Put your medals on the table, Rob. Put your medals on the table.
Mega Horse going 5-2. Ian saying there will be goals 4-2. Let's kick off and see where we go. And it is Dragons who have started the quickest. And they were looking to score, but now Sloths through the returning Ebe Sand take a 1-0 lead. And you do fear that the floodgates could open if Sloths are at their very best now. You can see Tato has predicted a 4-0. No further goals as of yet. Still just one. I've seen Clivert's name, so Dragons are still trying. But it does look like Sloths were the more adventurous there. And, well, it was certainly a better half than some of the other games we've seen. Sloths 6 shots on goal, 3 on target. Same ratio for Dragons, but 3 with 1 on target. Would you be disappointed if you were Rob that you've not scored more there?
No, not with the way that both teams are set up. They're very congested in the centre. So I wouldn't be too surprised. Because if you've got to think, yeah, he's a good performance. D'Alessandro's got the assist for a change instead of Z Roberto.
Mm-hmm.
Z Roberto's not done a lot really compared to what he normally does, but I can't see Rob changing much.
Well, it's interesting that he hasn't done as much when you said that Zari would be responsible for blocking the crosses, and he's the one that's getting a 5 rating.
Yeah.
Clivert as well, very disappointing from him.
Yeah, you just got to get it is the disappointing side. You never want to see 2 players on a 5, do you?
Well, the change to the 11 was that Pisotto came in for Holland, and now they're swapping back again at half-time.
Well, he's liked Holland on that right-hand side for some reason.
He's
He
also
doesn't,
saying Vieri for Sand.
which I can completely understand. If he's getting opportunities and you can see the ball going in.
I've not
The big
seen
batsman's
Jamie
gonna get
about
there.
in the chat, so we will kick off the second half. Can you see? Oh well, I was going to say, can you see Dragons getting back into it? But Vieri's come straight off the bench to prove a point that he shouldn't have been left out in the first place. I mentioned when they went 1-0 up that the floodgates could open. Could this now be Sloths? Should they be looking for 3 or 4? I say that as Tomadira makes it 2-1. Let's slow it down to see if we get some late drama in this game. We're heading towards injury time. Can Dragons get an equaliser? Can Sloths see the game out? Rui Costa moving in on goal. Saved, and Davids gets rid. But here comes Zé Roberto, and it is 3-1. And it's the man you picked out at the start of the game, as usual, as is always the way with these co-coms.
Zé Roberto's crosses are causing no end of problems. You can't have one centre half with Zé
And
Roberto.
it's 3-2, so everyone who predicted goals was certainly correct. And can Dragons somehow get a draw out of this?
Well, if you're both playing one at the back, you're hoping you're going to get goals, aren't you? Because you're not going to keep clean sheets.
And there is the full-time whistle. It was 3-2, unfortunate for Jamie, but Sloths, you would say, deserved the victory.
As much as it pains me to say, there's a very Sloth performance there.
He's saying, stick that in your pipe, Greaves.
Is completely against what the league stands for at the moment.
No shock to see.
All out attack, both teams. No one wants to see that. That's not entertaining. We want to see people attempting whip wob where we can just slag off the bastards for being cheap. Give me a dirty 1-0 any day. Bloody 3-2 and 2 shit performances from goalkeepers and defenders being run ragged. Who wants to see that on a Sunday night?
No surprise to see Zé Roberto up in his work rate, up in his rating, and getting man of the match.
Getting 2 assists. Yeah, it's within doubt. Give the ball. It's literally Rob sat down in that change room at half time and going, "Why the fuck aren't you giving it to Zé Roberto?" Zé Roberto, why aren't you crossing it, you twat? And he's done that in the second half.
Ian agreeing with your earlier comments, saying one for the opposite of purists.
Yeah, his Clivert's been disappointing. Zari's pulled himself up at least 1 rating. Lucio, as a lone centre half, 10 attempted tackles and only 4 completed, and only 1 header made.
I mean, you did point out that he was going to have a very difficult evening, and it proved to be correct.
Well, 1 attempted header for your only centre half.
Poor.
For Christ's sake, it's got to be, you got to be disappointed with that.
Well, that takes us nicely to our final game of the evening, and it involves your side, which are the first ones up on screen. And we mentioned lone players. Donati's in for you, you mentioned earlier, and more importantly, almost for you, Guerrero and Zidane both back from injury just as Scholes gets injured, because the 3 of them simply cannot play together.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to have a fully fit midfield at any point in the season, and if that does happen, they will get injured and cause me more problems. Other than that, I'm happy with the lineup that they're able to put out. I feel it is strong, and Donati comes in as a very good player to fill in the gaps for our ever injured midfield.
Well, I was going to say, so what of all the available players, what was it about Donati that tempted you?
He's quality. He's got Super League pedigree. He's very brave, and he likes to run with the ball. There's not much more to be said, really. He's a favourite of mine on home saves, and there's a reason he carries prestige in this league.
Absolutely. Well, let's see what Jens. Do you have a preferred number?
No, give him whatever.
Give him whatever. 39. Let's see what Jens has come up, and Jens isn't in the chat because he's still recovering from the wedding, which for those of you in the chat, he was looking at his sexy best in his suit, that's for sure. We hope that the wedding all went well. there was he flicked between a couple of players where they were going to play, and he's gone with this. And the one that interests me here is Xavi's in the defensive midfield role with Liverani, the more attacking.
Yeah, I prefer Liverani as an MC to a DMC. I think he plays so much better as an MC creatively. And I'm not a big fan of Xavi. I did try and sign him because I thought his stats looked nice, but he chose Halls. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with the players I brought in from outside the league. His DMs, I do think, is the weakness in this side. Gerrard can be a good player, but yes, he got a goal the other game, but I do feel it is the core, the four in the midfield that are the weak points of the Hull side.
And he does seem to have, I'm not sure if bowing to the pressure is the right way, but he was adamant Crespo and Van Nistelrooy would work as a 2. He's now dropping Van Nistelrooy and playing Crespo as a 1.
Yeah, you can completely understand it, really. It's I would like to see it. I'm more of a fan of a 2 up front than a 1 myself, but I do know if you play 1, you're more likely to get the same amount of goals out of 1 striker as what you are playing 2. But I just don't like a lot of the synergies for the 1 striker.
And just drop him down to the reserves, as I remember that was the instruction, given that there is a loan signing that again has come in injured. Always great for everyone when they make a signing that's instantly injured. Predictions already coming in before I've even had a chance to ask you. Scott going 3-0 Loco, Steve Wright saying 1-0. So that'll be for you as well. And Ian Edwards saying 1-1. Would you care to make a prediction, or as it's your team, are you going to stay relatively quiet?
I'll stay quiet, but I always back myself to win.
You do indeed. Let's see what the final game of the night offers us then, as Loco entertain Halls, and it is Halls coming forward looking to score early. Loco survived that, and now they're starting to create some attacks of their own. Sloth saying 7-0 Halls. And Crespo's injury, again, Jens isn't here, so we're pretty confident he will just do that. So we will carry on and see if Van Nistelrooy has any better luck. And it is 1-0, and it's Candea from wing-back who scores. And we get to half-time, and fairly even half. We'll bring your stats up first, Greasy, while you sort of analyse what you've seen there and decide if you'd like to make any changes.
No, I'll keep as is, please, mate.
You're happy to keep as is. I mean, when you look at the stats here, the midfield 3 that we were talking about, they're doing all right, aren't they? It's not like they're being completely outplayed.
Yeah, it's how congested the Hull's midfield is. It's hard to get on the ball and create space. I'm happy with the pass conversions, but just trying to get past that blockade.
Xavi, as we suggest, he's still getting low ratings. I mean, 18 attempted passes, 16 completed, but not really doing much else. 1 attempted tackle, which wasn't. But yes, they're 1-0 up. Jens isn't here, so there's no need to sort of look too in-depth into it. Let's kick off the second half and see what happens. Plenty of pink and white early doors in the half, looking for an early equaliser. You're starting to see some of the names that Jens will be hoping to see getting involved. And there's a yellow card and a free kick. And again, a large chunk of time just flew by with nothing happening. Another yellow card dished out as we go into the last 10 minutes. Can you see an equaliser coming, Greasy?
Yeah, getting into Loco time now, isn't it?
Getting into Loco time indeed. Well, we're just coming into the last 5 minutes of normal time as Hall's come forward looking for a second. And well held by Barthez. Excellent tackle as well, what you'd expect from a Loco player. Now injury time, if it's got to happen now or it's not going to happen, and it didn't happen.
The bogey team gets 3 points off me again.
It was a fairly even game, just Halls were more efficient in front of goal, really.
Yeah, more efficient and better in the tackle. Disappointed, really.
I mean, again, I can understand why, because you look at those ratings and some of the players, I mean, Montella was the player who we spoke about off air. He's the one that got all the media attention. He's not played badly. Barthez, usual standard from him. Teneto, who we've spoken about before, he's been excelling beyond himself this year at times.
No, he's playing at the level that I knew he would. Unfortunately, he's trying to pull up the rest around him. He's dominating on that left side, and Zambrotta just got dominated by Candela. Struggled to get the midfield to get past that blockade. I'm at the moment looking in with 3 seasons in against Hulls, and I'm yet to pick up 3 points against them. They are one of the bogey sides of mine, and I've just got to take it on the chin, move forwards.
Well, just having a look in the comments to see what people are saying on reflection of this game. Tato Marino saying Boston have looked wank. Duggan saying Soz lad, surely Loco should be 4-0 up at halftime. Greavesy's spoken like he's the champ oracle tonight about everyone's teams. And Sloth said beating at your own game.
I've been asked to come on and give my biased opinion, and that's what I'm giving.
And I very much appreciate the fact that you've joined me this evening to give your very unbiased opinion. Sol Campbell, man of the match. Solid 10 out of 10 rating for him tonight.
15 tackles from the centre half. Jens has got to be happy with that.
Well, this is the difference. You highlighted Lucio in the last game, and this is Sol Campbell doing the complete opposite, isn't it?
It is, and he had a partner, didn't he?
He did.
And Thuram hasn't been quiet, really. Thuram did more than what Lucio did.
Xavi slightly improved. Van Nistelrooy, they're still not clicking as such, the strikers, are they? I know Crespo got injured, so Van Nistelrooy got a half plus 5 minutes.
Yeah. You don't care if your team's clicking if you get 3 points.
This is very true.
You can click all you want. It's points on the board that account. And unfortunately, I ain't got no points on the board. So we'll go again and roll on.
Well, let's bring the results up again there. This is the results from the league this evening. Only one game had both teams score.
Shockingly, after 2 losses in a row, which is very unlike me, I am still sitting in 6th place.
You are. I mean, if you go back a couple of weeks, we had a couple of game weeks where everyone was scoring goals. We had loads of 4-2s and 3-1s and stuff. It's slightly disappointing to see so many teams getting nil, but then again, thinking back to what you've said, 1-0 wins are your bread and butter. So although you're on the wrong end of it tonight, it's probably good for you seeing this.
It is. It's the way the league is going. Yes, we've got the abnormality of the 3-2, but no one likes losing. No one wants to turn up and get a Humphrey now, like Sells did.
No.
You want to be, if you lose 1-0, it's why I like beating teams 1-0, because there's that slight belief that you could have beaten me. But it's usually the other way. It's the little bits. A 1-0 win is always. I was always taught when I was younger, if your team can score 2 goals, you should win.
So we have a quick look at the table, and so we're 15 games in. There's 26 in the regular season, so 11 to go. When you see that Burn are already 12 points above the dotted line, are they pretty much there already?
Yeah, Burn have got to keep going. You can say the past 5 games, Burn have been going through the motions.
Okay.
And picking up 1-0s and getting the odd draw. They've got like 3 90th minute winners, haven't they, in the past so many games? So you can't. Ian's just setting his team up, sitting there with a nice little smug grin on his face. He's got it's the not if he's going to score, it's when is Taselko going to score.
As you look through the rest of the teams that are sort of in there already, there's relatively. I mean, you've said about it's becoming more chess as opposed to end-to-end, etc. And you look at fairly even defensive records, but if you look at Fulchester and Sloths, the fact that they've conceded sort of 10 plus more than everyone else in the top 6, would that be a concern?
I think it's more the Rob is a mad bastard, and he just tries to gung ho, and luckily it's worked for him. And Maka has tried a lot of different tactics this season compared to what he normally does. So he's been experimenting a bit more, and I think he's now fallen on what he prefers to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we went the next 10 games and Maka only conceded 5.
4 teams all on 20 points, Devils with the game in hand. I mean, we say, and we've been proven right the last couple of years, the Super League is closer than it's ever been. When you're looking at that looks very close. But when you compare it to the likes of the gap between those 4 teams and Burn, are we starting to see that the gap is widening again? Or can you see that this will go right to the wire?
I can see it going to the wire. It's always exciting when it does go to the wire, because you never want to go in the last day with nothing on. But I can see as it gets into the business end of the season, a lot of teams to then kick in.
And again, if you keep looking a bit further down, you've got Astor there on 18, Churchtown 17, to an extent even Dragons 15. They're all going to still feel in there if they can just put a run together.
Yeah, it's any team with a run will do well, because you'll soon rack up points and catch up the teams that are sneaking the draws. But it's getting that elusive run. There's not many managers that have been able to tag together more than 5 wins in a row.
And we were mentioning, or I asked you about the defensive records of Fulchester and Sloths. Just to put it into perspective, they've conceded the same amount of goals as Dudley, who are rock bottom.
Yeah, that is exactly it. And yet Steve is bringing up the mighty Tony Adams to try and deal with the defensive woes when they've conceded the same amount of goals as the teams in 4th and 5th.
Well, there's the game in hand that Ryan is going to sort out, and then we go into this round of fixtures. So just before we let you go for the evening, Greavesy, can see that you're away to Fulchester, which should be a very good game for everyone to watch. But other than that, I mean, Devil's Burn, is that the one that stands out for you? Possibly Leddersford Haggis?
Yeah, Devil's Burn would be interesting to see how the super sides compete against each other. It would be interesting to see how Leddersford cope with the Wib-Wobbin Bastards. Hall's Churchtown is a very underrated side, but both of them coming off wins. Gazelles and Dragons, you got the 2 Dick Derby.
Just to answer Macca's question, he's saying his goals against is because of 2 absolute humpings he had. So that'll be the 5-1 to Sloths. And I mean, is he classing the 3-1 as a humping? Possibly. I mean, he did also concede 3 in this game to the Devils, I suppose. So
yeah.
People can get at him if they have the quality to do so.
Yeah, but he was experimenting with 3 at the back a lot, wasn't it? And it doesn't work unless you whip and like bloody cheating bastards do.
Quick check on the player stats then. Ronaldinho continues to lead the way for average rating. Scalco still 1 clear of Vieri in the goals. And assists wise, Beckham joins Zé Roberto on 7 for the season. Well, Mr. Greaves, firstly, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Very much appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
I very much enjoyed your comments. Thank you for your open and honest assessment of every team and player, and even your own downfall tonight with the result not going your way. And enjoy your holiday.
Thank you very much. I'll try and hop on Wednesday if I can, but if not, obviously.
And finally, just to thank everyone in the chat. I've enjoyed watching your comments come through, particularly the ones aimed at Greavesy, so I could point them out to him. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will do packs tomorrow for you ahead of Ryan's show midweek. Until next time from Super League HQ, good night.